All right, hello there, Diplomacy World. This is George Linkert coming at you from Minnesota, and I have my friend who I don't think we've ever met in real life. Have we, Ben?
We have not.
So Ben Johnson and I are both part of the Minnesota Diplomacy Club, and you're actually on the board.
Yeah, but we've played diplomacy together.
Yeah,
Just
online.
on the internet. Yeah.
But and that's kind of why I wanted to talk to you. But
Yep.
but we've never you played when the Minnesota Club was meeting. You seemed like you were more of a Thursday night guy.
Definitely. I came to almost every Thursday night, I think, and more occasional Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what happened is Zach was there running every Saturday, and then I was there every Thursday, along with Jake, who I think made it to almost every Thursday as well. So
Okay.
And then I tried to make a couple Saturdays at least.
And how did you get into the Minnesota Diplomacy Club as it is?
Sure. Well, diplomacy has always been my favorite game. I started playing over 10 years ago now, when I was a senior in high school. Really,
You grew up here in the cities?
Yep. Grew up in Egan, and me and my friends, we would play the board game Risk and enjoyed it. But then I heard of diplomacy, so I bought it, and we never played it. And so then 7 of us got together in our senior year in a basement, and we all played for the first time, and it was amazing. So we played a lot of times that summer, and
Did you really like all 7? You were able to repeat?
Yeah. I was hooked, and I think everyone else by the end of the summer was done with the game.
Yeah.
So I haven't played with many of them since, but ever since I was always looking for people to play diplomacy with, and then in 2014 I met Zach Moore, and we bonded over diplomacy pretty quickly, and we'd played online together a number of times, but over the next 4 years, 2014 through 2017, I think we had played a total of 2 face-to-face games together. And that was really the only face-to-face diplomacy I played, except for visiting Chicago for a couple of their tournaments.
So you went to the Chicago tournament play? Then.
Yeah, I've gone to CodCon there a few times. But yeah, my main motivation then was Zach. Was just thinking, it's so hard to get 7 people together to play a game, because you got to commit to 4 to 6 hours minimum, and having 7 people to do that is almost impossible. So in 2018, we decided, well, let's start Minnesota Diplomacy Club, and we made a Twitter, and we came up with our slogan, which was we're going to be home of the 2028 World Diplomacy Championships at US Bank Stadium. Put that on the Twitter. And so it's kind of half a joke, but in the end, we ended up having 6 games in 2018, which was pretty good. And that's
Did you meet at Fantasy Flight at that time, or someplace else?
Our first game, we met at a church, in the church basement. Second game was at someone's house. And then the games after that were at Fantasy Flight. So most of our games have been at Fantasy Flight now. Yeah.
Cool. Wow, that's really cool. I don't know if there had there been much of a diplomacy club before here in the Twin Cities.
But none that I know of. So yeah, it was just 2 years ago. Zach and I thought we'd start it, and 2018 was small, and 2019 just took off. We ended up having. I came up with another stupid tagline. I said, we're going to have 20 games by 2020. And we just missed it. We had 18 right. Total games. And then our 19th game for the 2020 season was the championship game, which happened in January. And then I was feeling like we were losing a little momentum for 2020 already. And then the pandemic hit. So obviously things have changed for everything, including diplomacy. So that's kind of where we're at now, where we can only play online.
Right. Well, and to go online, I mean, back in, I think it was August, Eric brought his laptop and twitched the whole game out.
Yep.
On a Saturday. So you weren't there, of course. And, right. I remember being really fascinated with it. I mean, you can still go, I'm sure, see the game on Twitch. because it was pretty. He had this laptop, tilted down towards the board, right? And so that's kind of where it was the whole time. And you could hear snippets of conversations. And before we started, he's like saying, "Oh, you should, feel free to go and talk to the camera." And I'm one who's like, I'll talk to the camera. And so every once in a while, I would try to go and explain what was going on the board and stuff. And I remember going back to watch that afterward. It was just some interesting people commenting like, "Ooh, somebody twitching out a live stream of a diplomacy game," and it seemed really very different.
Yeah. So at least for me, I know Zach and Eric have been doing a ton and Zach the most, helping to get these online games going recently, to help the greater diplomacy community across North America and the world, really. And at least for me, I don't know, I haven't been as motivated by that, just because at least my main hope for creating the Minnesota Club is I like the idea of something local where people can actually get together, meet face to face, meet, have a beer, play a game. I think of it, similar to, poker night with the boys instead of diplomacy night. And that's really my hope, that, people in Minnesota can bond over diplomacy, become friends, and just have a good night out from time to time. So that's really what I like the most about it. So I'm kind of sad that we can't do that right now.
So with that in mind, are you kind of disappointed that we haven't had more Minnesota players on the Minnesota Diplomacy Games?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I'm also not surprised, just because I think we had a lot of people play games in 2019, and then but a lot of the people that I would text to come to games were starting to fall off.
Yeah, you said that.
And I feel like it's even a harder ask to say, "Hey, do you want to sit on your computer for 6 hours on a beautiful Saturday night?" That's a tough ask.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Because I've been a little sad, when we have the Minnesota Diplomacy Games.
Yeah.
And the first time is like there was maybe it was one other Minnesotan on the board with me, and then the other two times is like there was no other Minnesotan, or I guess there was one time, but I assumed he wasn't from Minnesota, so it was it's a little like, oh man, where's my Minnesota guys? And then you and Jake played Saturday, and I opted out because I had to
we didn't
do some.
represent very well. Jake was out first and I was out second, so that's how it goes.
That's just terrible when a game goes that way. But let's not focus on that here.
Yeah.
Let's talk some diplomacy here for a minute.
Yep.
So you and I played a online friendly game where it was the identities were hidden, so we didn't know who was who, and you and I had really, I mean, I think we've had some chats maybe a little bit online. I don't think we never really had talked a whole lot. Would you say?
Right.
So I don't think I've really ever seen you play. So I wasn't sure. We did do another game before this. So I kind of was getting a sense of what kind of player you were. And that's to me, that's part of the fun of diplomacy, is to like see how a player plays and try to see if you can predict how they're going to play the next time.
Sure.
So this, I guess, was technically our second game. But again, I didn't know who you were. Oh man, I removed it from the stream. Hang on a second. I hit the wrong button.
Yeah. Well, while you get it up, I can talk a little bit about it. So it was because 2019 was so crazy with the number of face-to-face games that we played. I had just gotten away from playing online, and I do enjoy playing online with like one turn a day. So then a game where it would take 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. If you do one turn a day, and I kind of like that. I think it's kind of a fun little side hobby to check your phone a couple times a day. So it was in February. I sent a text to just people that I knew from Minnesota and said, "Hey, do you guys want to play an online game?" And I apologize, I didn't include you in that first one, but
you wouldn't believe how broken my heart is over it.
Yeah, the 7 people I picked all said yes. But but then immediately multiple people texted and said, hey, we want to be anonymous, which I'd never done before. Because again, my motivation was I wanted to play a game with people that I know. I think it's more fun that way. And it's just a cool way to connect. But in the end, anonymous was kind of interesting. I thought it evened the playing field. So we did a couple games, and then some people, just because life got busy, when we went on to the next game, said, hey, I can't come to this. So we looped in a few different people even not from Minnesota now for the most recent game. And so this was the game, and it was anonymous countries again. So, and I played Russia, and you played England.
Right.
So I can tell you, at least from my point of view, is in diplomacy, one of the most important rules, which I'm sure you probably heard before, is you should play the people, not the powers. Meaning, you can come in with whatever strategy you like for the country, but you've got to be thinking about what the other people are going to do. Now in an anonymous game, though, all you get is the initial messages, and it's harder to do that on the first turn. Yep. So at least with it being anonymous, I tend to lean more to, what would be my favorite opening as a country. So
okay,
as Russia, I think.
So do you like do you like playing Russia?
Well, it's got to be one of the more fun countries, just because you really have to talk to everybody, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot of different things to think about. I wouldn't say I'm the best at it, but it is fun. And what's really fun about it is you almost are like two little countries, one in the north and one in the south. But really what you need to worry about first when you're Russia is worry about your southern border. Because if Turkey's going to be attacking you, or Turkey and Austria together, if you don't defend the south, you could be out pretty quick. However, if you solidify things down in the south, opening north, I think is better because it gives you a shot at being a player in the north. Mm-hmm. So I did that.
So you felt like your south, when you were opening here, you felt your south was secure and you were moved Moscow to St. Petersburg.
Yeah, because the other thing is if you don't open north, I think it's so tempting for England to take over Scandinavia and walk into St. Petersburg. And I don't like to let that happen. So I felt really solid with Turkey based on our initial messages. Austria, it was okay, but in the end, he did agree to DMZ Galicia, which he lied about in the first turn. So
I'm shocked. I never thought Jake had that in him.
Yeah. So, but that's how it goes. So I opened that way.
So did you regret moving Moscow to St. Petersburg as soon as you saw that move to Galicia, or
no?
Did you not regret it?
I mean, it was just one piece, and at least my thinking was, even if you go to the next turn, I thought, well, let's not even defend Warsaw, because if he walks there, it's just one piece by itself, and I could just kick him out, which is in the end what happened. So he went there in the fall, took Warsaw, but I actually got all of Scandinavia,
right.
So and Rum, so I still got up to 6.
So let me ask you about, so I didn't really, our diplomacy, your and mine, I don't know if you recall this, and I could go back to this on this screen share, was I don't think we attacked a lot, and I was very ambiguous about what I was doing because I was going all out after Germany, as you could probably tell.
Yeah.
But you were not, it didn't feel like you were either looking at it or you didn't believe it, or you were just like, screw it, I'm going to try to go for Norway anyway, and mess with the Denmark situation.
Well, yeah, I think if you're Russia and you move Moscow to St. Petersburg in the first move, you're doing that, I guess, for 2 reasons. Either you're going to move to Norway and bounce England out, or I got lucky and got it. The other option, I guess, would be to move to Finland and then build, and you'd have 3 pieces up there. Right. But I don't know. I think if you're moving up there, it's obviously anti-England, so I'd move to Norway.
Yeah, I had no inclination that you were going to go north with that. I for some reason, and again, we had barely played before, so I felt like the players in this group were people that played more cautiously, as far as Russia goes, or think of Russia as more of a southern player, and I love playing Russia, and I love if I go north, I love going north with and doing what you did. So I was watching you play and suffering from it all while like wishing I was you, because it's a great position to be in. But I and you know, in England is, you know, it's an interesting thing to play, and I had this weird stupid goal. You know, sometimes I go into a game thinking, you know what, I'm going to do this if it feels like the play is good. This is my goal. My goal this game was to keep Germany to one build in 1901.
Yep.
I didn't care what it cost me. That was my goal. And France was agreeable to it. He didn't like me going to English Channel, of course, but he's like, well, okay, if that's a goal, we'll do it. And so with you, I assumed it was going to be south, and I could I'll try to grab Norway later if I can bounce them out of Denmark. And you know, almost everything worked out for me except your stupid army.
Sure. Yeah, so I have two other thoughts on the game, and then I don't have a ton of time.
Sorry.
So I wanted to get the two thoughts out there. And in the end, the game didn't go well for me either. It was a Italy-Austria alliance that topped the board together, and I think Italy was in the lead in the end. But
right.
It initially started out well because I had solidified things with Turkey. I think, you know, obviously Russia and Turkey is a famous and powerful alliance. Turkey collapsed so quickly. I think I underestimated the partnership that Italy and Austria had. And I think part of the reason was Italy had taken Trieste. And whenever that happens, I don't know, if I lose a home center, I'm always going to try to take it back. But I think Austria saw past that and was able to stick with Italy, and it worked out well for both of them. So either way, the game started out strong for me, and if Italy had turned on Austria, I think it would have been different for me. For example, if you go to the end of 1903, that's the moment that I was in the lead. I think I had 7. Next person, maybe Italy had 6, and I was set up what I thought was pretty well. Where, as I said, what I like to do is Russia is played as 2 countries, one small one in the north, one small one in the south. And the thing is, my small one in the south, it wasn't strong enough because Turkey collapsed so quickly, as you can see right here. And, you know, because Italy and Austria never turned on each other, after this point, my game declined pretty quickly. So they just came in and took everything. And that's actually, in the end, that's how you started to resurrect a little bit, because
France got distracted with Italy. I mean, he knew Italy was coming for him.
France and I were leading at 1902, maybe in 1902 probably, and but then Italy became so strong that both of us got distracted, and you were able to resurrect as we came to the end. And then we didn't finish the game. Just I guess we accepted a draw at some point at the end. But that's what happened. That I think for sure that if Italy and Austria can work together, it's a very powerful partnership, very formidable. It was, on display in this game. It was on display in the online game I played last Saturday. If those 2 countries can work well, they, everyone else better watch out.
So I'm going to the end of the game here, and obviously Italy and Austria continue their alliance, and I got my first build in 1906. I was just like, oh my God, I got a build. And you basically decided to go all out against Austria instead of trying to continue the attack on me. And you were basically encouraged me to take your points. And I wanted to know exactly what you were thinking when you were suggesting that.
Sure. Well, at least where I was, I felt like my game was over, and the reason that it was over was Italy and Austria. So I thought, okay, well, I can try to defend both sides and it'll last longer, or I can just try to throw dots to you and see if that helps you resurrect yourself. You didn't take my offer though.
No, well, I didn't
but
completely trust you.
yeah, that's okay. That's okay. But that was kind of my thinking, because I don't know. Once I was out of it and I didn't have a shot at winning anymore, I was just thinking, hey, I wanted to do something nice for you.
So, so would you say at the end of the, at one of the things I struggle with at the end with diplomacy is people's goals at the end of the game. And if you kind of sound like you were ready to give up, and you were like trying to fight Austria, maybe trying to make Austria pay for it for what he was, the way he was playing, I guess. But you, to me, if I was in your position, I would be like, okay, I'm going to try to hunker down in St. Petersburg, try to work with England, and and try to be part of a draw. Does that sort of thinking come to you at the end of a game like this?
Yeah, I get that thinking. I don't know. I know that the majority of the diplomacy community, obsesses about, whatever the scoring system is and being part of a draw. And at least for me, that's not the reason why I fell in love with diplomacy in the beginning. Like, what I loved about it was, what is it going to take to get 18 and actually win it? And what you got to do is you got to climb over your enemies and your allies in the end to get to the top. And it's such a cool thing. And I think about it like the game Survivor, where it's really, really a human game. And in the end, every diplomacy game is unique because it's 7 people bringing themselves, and it's they're themselves at a very raw state into the game. So if halfway through the game you become upset about something and you throw the game to somebody, who's to say that that's wrong? And if I because in the end it's a very human endeavor that we're partaking when we play diplomacy.
Yeah. Well, and as I've written, I feel like in one of the best ways diplomacy is that it reflects life in many ways. And we all come in with our own goals. Because I'm one who I like to go for the win, but I know that's very unlikely. And so I want to make sure I'm part of a draw. I don't think I've ever been eliminated from a game in the few Minnesota Diplomacy Club games I've been in. Yeah, I'm trying to, if I get attacked, as Michael Tallman attacked me several times, and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to hunker down here until somebody sees there's opportunities, and I can maybe try to make it. And like this game where I was down to 2.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna, see if I can be a force at the end, and I'm not looking to throw. I mean, I feel like it's almost a throw in a game, I guess, in a way. And so, because I think the draw is sometimes just an interesting discussion to have. Like that previous game we played, when you were England and I was Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, no, you didn't want to accept the draw. You just wanted to keep going for the win and kind of.
I felt like I had a small, even if it was 5% a shot at the win.
I thought it was totally legit.
And even if Austria soloed in the end, so be it. I'd rather go for it. I'm not going to play an online game for a month or a face-to-face game for 6 hours to be a part of a 5-way draw. That's no fun.
Right.
Let's see if you can win. That's my encouragement to everybody out there. Go for the solo. Why not?
Sure. I just, but it was, I think that especially when you play with the higher caliber players, which I feel like we're playing with right now, and I don't know where if you had, I mean, the games I played before, there's always somebody who's new or doesn't get the game, and you're like, oh, it's just like it just kind of totally makes out of balance. And now it's just like, wow, these are, everybody knows their moves, they know what they should be trying to do, and I really, really, really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you, Ben Johnson, for helping get this going, because this is seriously. I was writing this earlier on Discord that this is, like we had said earlier, this is my all-time favorite game. And when I stumbled across your club last year, I was like, these guys are playing Diplomacy. I mean, and now I get to play online and get to play with people from all over the world who know what they're doing, and it's just is like a dream. It's seriously like a dream come true. I never would have thought I could be able to do this. And now have world champion Diplomacy players commenting on our games is really cool.
It's unreal. I mean, Diplomacy has always been my favorite game, and I've never been able to get anybody to play it with me until this. And I was always jealous of the Chicago club, because I thought, man, I would love to move to Chicago and be a part of their club, and thought, no, well, I'm not doing that. So let's just see if we can make a club that's even half that good here. And it's been fun so far. So, the online games are okay, but really it's the face-to-face games for me. That's where it's at. So I'm hoping, maybe even with masks on, we'll get at least a game in this summer. And maybe even outside, who knows? So, but I'm talking, George, I'm out of time.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate doing this with me, Ben. I'll end the broadcast. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. We'll check you again in 1901.
All right. Thanks. Bye.